What's up, guys? Welcome back to Photo Conversations, where we have conversations about photography, film, and so much more about life. Well, there's one thing that really bothers me about photographers and filmmakers, and this is unpreparedness. Quite often, when I'm on set or when I'm filming or photographing on events, doing documentary work, I come across photographers and filmmakers that will always have something missing. They'll have their batteries missing, they'll have maybe a light missing, or maybe they forgot to charge their batteries overnight, or maybe they don't have a power cable, they only have one lens, and basically they'll try to borrow from the nearest photographer or filmmaker who is willing to help. Well, for me, I find this very disturbing because it doesn't matter how skilled you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the photography and film business. As long as you're not prepared, for me, I do not consider you a professional. There's so many people that I've worked with and they consider themselves professionals. And on any day, they'll call themselves the cinematographer, a camera operator, a videographer, or even an editor. But most of the time they are unprepared. And the thing with unpreparedness is it can always be seen. It is apparent when you are working to a client that you were never prepared for the assignment that you are involved in at that time. So today I just want to talk about unpreparedness and how it affects the quality of the work that you produce and how it impacts on your image or on the perception of the client about you as a professional. I'll give you examples of moments when I was really puzzled and even disturbed by these so-called professionals. So some time back, I had an assignment in BD settlement, and we were filming and photographing. I think by that time, I think he was the head of UNHCR, some guy called Felipe. He had come to visit and take a tour of the BD settlement. I think by then BD settlement was I think Africa's biggest refugee settlement. So everything was planned out by the UNHCR team and other partners, and they were moving super fast. Like from one point to another, he was checking out water facilities, he was checking out education facilities, and just being taken around to see the entire geography or the context, to understand the context of the refugee settlement as the head of the UNHCR. So there was this guy who seemed to be older than me, probably doubles my age. He was working for one of the big news companies in Uganda. I'll not mention the news company, I'll not mention the newspaper, but it's a respectable newspaper that we all know. And this guy looked really professional. He looked a lot older than me. He's somebody that you would respect, by just, looking at him, So what happened is when we started shooting, this guy apparently had no memory card. And he started, hustling around to get a memory card. And he came to me for a memory card. I couldn't believe my eyes, because how does a professional show up for such a huge time-bound assignment and they do not have a memory card? For me, it is common sense to just have more than one, more than two, or even 5 memory cards when you're working in the field far away from civilization, like in a refugee settlement. So out of courtesy and out of empathy, I gave the guy a memory card to use. And he shot the entire event, and he promised that he would give me back my memory card when he come back to Kampala. Fast forward, we come back to Kampala, and the guy basically can't be located. He couldn't pick up his phone calls, and I was really bothered. And I'll tell you, I lost all the respect that I had for him as a photojournalist, as a seasoned, mature photographer, and working for a huge newspaper company in this country. So that is one of them. I'll give you another example. Another example is when I was still so much involved in weddings. Weddings are events that happen on the fly. Moments cannot be missed. You can't afford to miss the the vows. You can't afford to miss the ring. So I had hired a photographer to come and fill up for me as a second photographer. And of course, part of the deal was that he comes with his equipment, and all I need from him is the footage after the event. So what happened is that this guy showed up and he had a 32 GB memory card to shoot an entire event, an entire wedding that takes about 12 hours, and as usual, he started, to ask whether I have an extra memory card to help him out. He started to ask if I could, support him in one or the other. Well, of course, because it was my event, I took on the responsibility because I had to, otherwise I would lose footage. So I assisted him and gave him another card. But long story short, this is a person I could never hire ever again. It doesn't matter how beautiful his shots are. It doesn't matter how skilled he is, because for me, the first impression always is a lasting impression to me, because if you do it to me today, then most definitely I believe you will do it again and again, because that is a habit. So those are just examples of how unprofessional photographers and filmmakers are, or from my experience. And this is usually to the upcoming photographers. They spend more time, of course, learning the skills, and sometimes they do not have the capacity to buy the equipment that is necessary to be prepared to take on certain level of assignment. But I would say you'd rather not take on an assignment if you're not prepared for it, because at the end of the day, showing up and you're disorganized, you're not prepared, does not earn you any points. It doesn't matter how beautiful your product is. People will always remember that you came late. People will always remember that that you never prepared for the event. Yeah, so in my opinion, I believe preparation accounts for about 50% of your success rate when it comes to executing any kind of production. Because when you are prepared, you anticipate all eventualities that might, come that might show up, while you're shooting and filming. But unfortunately, most photographers and filmmakers focus more on their skills other than other aspects that are non-technical, like preparation. There's a time when I was filming a documentary, and to be honest with you, this was a highly paid documentary. It was only 2 days, and they had paid way beyond my expectations. I'd filmed about 4 to 5 interviews, and I was, shooting my very last interview. And out of the blue, my wireless audio transmitters failed to work. And the client was just right in my face, wondering what's going on. So I tried, of course, we always try to stay calm and stay professional. Do not show the client that something is wrong with your equipment. So I fidgeted, I tried to change the channels, I tried to reset the modules, but all in vain. So I kept fidgeting and all that. And my equipment was in the car was parked far away. It was also getting very late. So the time to go back to the car and get the spare sound recorder was also going to be a problem, because time was running out and these people expect you to be professional. Long story short, by the grace of God, my audio transmitters, miraculously worked. But I give you this as an, but I share this as an example that things can always go wrong on set. Things can always go wrong on an assignment, and the only way to solve or to do a comeback from such a scenario is being prepared. There's no any other solution other than being prepared. So there's so many ways to be prepared. But today I'm just going to share with you a few things to think about as a photographer and filmmaker as you try to prepare for a very important assignment. So point number 1 is prepare the night before your assignment. One of the things that I believe is that the next day always starts the day before, especially at night. As a photographer and filmmaker, take time to set up your equipment, Take your time to charge your batteries, take your time to format your cards to ensure that everything works perfectly. Do a dry run with your equipment to ensure that it's working as it should. Most people usually think that the day starts in the morning, but to me, I would say for photographer and filmmaker who is professional, the day should start the night before, where you're able to prepare for the next day. Because usually in the morning you are rushing and you have other things that are immaterial, totally unrelated to your assignment that you try to do in the morning, like brush your teeth, take a bath, exercise. Those are things that are not related to your filming. So do things that are related to filming and photography the night before. When you charge your batteries, ensure they're all charged, and format your cards to make sure that everything is set. I've been on set and I slot in a card and it has content that I haven't yet backed up and I can't delete it. So to avoid such scenarios, make sure that you format your cards the night before, and set up everything. You set up your tripods in one place, set up your sound equipment in one place, your cameras in one bag, and make sure you are ready to go in the morning. The other thing that you can do to prepare better is to always have a backup for each and every equipment that you have. By backup, I mean have more than one. In fact, have a plan A, B, C, D, and up to Z, because anything can happen. Equipment can get spoiled. Equipment can be faulty. Equipment can even be stolen. So make sure that you always have more than one. Have more than one set of audio. For me, actually, audio, I make sure that I have about 4 different devices that can pull off good audio. Have a sound recorder. Have a lavalier mic that you can wire directly to the camera. Have wireless mics. Wireless mics always jam. Frequencies can jam. You can get this weird screeching sound in your ears out of the transmitters, and you do not know where it's coming from, and you can't record like that. So make sure that you have more than one recording device for your audio. Make sure that you have more than one camera. I cannot go for a shoot with one camera, especially when it's video, because I know cameras can always fail. Most of our equipment is bought secondhand, so you do not know how long it has been used. And so it could be, its last day to operate, and that's when you're in the field shooting, a very important assignment. So make sure that you have more than one camera. And you don't have to own, but hire camera just in case things go wrong for you. Make sure that you have more than one tripod. One leg on a tripod that fails to open up could ruin your entire filming day. So make sure you have more than one battery. I usually tell people that a battery costs very little money. Like, for example, the batteries we use in the Canons, they cost about 100 to 150. So whenever you get some money, have a budget for equipment, buy more batteries each and every time. Then also memory cards. Make sure that you stock up on memory cards. So memory cards, I do not know how I can I don't know how I can make this stick in your minds as photographers and filmmakers, but for memory cards, they jam all the time. One, of course, buy high quality memory cards that have a less likelihood of jamming or less likelihood of losing your data. But then also have multiple memory cards of different brands to ensure that when one fails, you come in with the next to fill up that gap, so that the client can not even notice that there is a failure at one point of your execution. I have a friend of mine who asks me, why do you always carry this gear, carry so many lights, so many cameras? Isn't it, cumbersome for you to do this? And I told him, yes, it is cumbersome, but for me, I would rather struggle with equipment that I want to use in the field than not carry the equipment and then I need it in the field later. So it's better to be prepared than to be sorry. So I'm the kind that carries a lot of equipment, and especially those tiny things, duct tape, small lights, clamps, tripods. Like, I can't move for a professional shoot with one tripod because I know it could fail. A nut or bolt could fall out. So then the other thing is this is very interesting, but most of the work that we do in the field is very physical. You find yourself carrying a lot of gear alone. You're carrying the tripods, the C-stand, the lights, and all the things, especially when you're working as a solo shooter. So one of the ways to prepare for an assignment is to work out physically. Make sure you jog as a photographer. Most of the photographers and filmmakers spend most of their time on computers editing footage, and we tend to get a little bit physically lazy. But your physical fitness can determine whether an assignment turns out successful or turns out mediocre or even a failure. So ensure to keep fit, go out and run, do some press ups each and every day just to keep in a fit physical condition, so that when it comes to climbing hills, climbing mountains while you're shooting, it's not something that takes a toll on your body. I remember I went for this assignment in Fort Portal, and we were climbing those hills to be able to get a clear view of the crater lakes. And that day, I tested my physical fitness. Even those that we were filming and photographing failed, to climb the hill, in good condition. Most of them reached at the top of the hill, panting and almost needing medical attention. So, as a photographer and filmmaker, one way to prepare is to ensure that you are in pristine physical condition. Make sure you do aerobics. Make sure you carry some weights, because our bags are usually heavy, equipment is usually heavy. The other way that a photographer and filmmaker can prepare for an assignment is the mental preparation. One of the things that we face as photographers and filmmakers is a mental breakdown when you get to the field. I usually get it. Of course, it's not going to be like, I'm running crazy or anything, but we usually kind of get overwhelmed mentally when we go to the field. And this usually comes either from the magnitude of the work, the intensity of the work that we are doing, and because photography and film is not only a physical skill, it's also a mental skill, because you'll be thinking about shots, you'll be thinking about cinematography, the colors, and also the technical bit of the gear you're setting up and all the things. Usually it's a strenuous activity that takes a toll on the mental aspect of our being. So one of the things that a photographer and filmmaker should do is to prepare mentally. By preparing mentally, I mean put yourself already mentally in the scenarios that you're going to face. For example, if you're going to a refugee settlement, that is probably, most of the refugee settlements are usually in very hot places. I don't know why UNHCR always chooses those hot places, yet we have a lot of green places where these refugees can actually enjoy the cool weather. But anyway, that's not my problem. But most of the places I go to shoot are usually semi-arid or even very, desert-like. So the heat and the dryness usually has a toll on my mental well-being. So it's very important to prepare mentally. And also by mentally, I mean, like, for example, prepare mentally for what you're going to shoot. Start creating a storyboard in your mind. Start creating a script in your mind, such that when you reach the filming site or you reach the assignment location, you're not overwhelmed by the material. You already have created a plan. You've created a system that you're going to use to produce your end product. So by mental preparation, I mean build your script, build your storyboard, build your methods, build your cinematography beforehand, before you get onto site. The other way to prepare for an assignment is to take care of your health. Like I said earlier on about preparation, that most of the places we go to are, the geography is different. There are places you go to, like the highland places like in Kabale, and you get dizzy because of the altitude. So prepare your health, have a medical checkup, have some meds that you carry, that you go with, for example, painkillers, antibiotics, because when you're in the field, you could actually get sick. So prepare for these things before they happen. Make sure you have a water bottle to ensure that you're always hydrated, because dehydration is one of the problems when you're working, then also carry a snack with you. Most of the times when we are filming or photographing, we wake up in the morning, head out to the field, and you shoot up to 5 in the evening and you haven't had a meal. You'd be lucky if you get a meal in between. But as a photographer that is experienced and professional, you have been through this and you already know it. So always carry a snack, carry some cookies, carry some nuts, and some food that has a little bit of sugars to ensure that you do not pass out while filming or photographing. So those are the few tips that I could share with you about being prepared. So let's stay alert as photographers and filmmakers and ensure that we provide quality work for our clients. Thank you so much for watching this YouTube video, and catch you on the next one.